Ever since there was news about Kylie Jenner dropping her own skincare range, everyone was messaging me to review her skincare line, and Kylie Skin is finally here. I'm not associated with Kylie Jenner or the entire family or that business, not on the PR list. This is bought with my own money, $125 for the entire kit, and I did pay for shipping, which I was a little bit salty about, but anyways, I paid tax and now it's here. I have used it for about a good week, so this video will be more of an ingredient breakdown, first impression, and some experience that I can tell with the products. Before we get started, I know a lot of you guys wanted me to actually hate the products, but I do want to give it a fair shot in reviewing the products as just products, not Kylie Jenner's products. I don't follow any dramas or anything that they create. I don't follow the entire Kardashian family at all. I don't think I'm in the right place to judge her or say something about her as a person, but one thing that I do know for sure is how influential she is. Launching a skincare line on top of her cosmetics line did kind of positively influence a lot of teenagers or young demographics to start their own skincare journey. Taking care of your skin is very, very, very important, more than applying makeup or a thick layer foundation and just trying to hide everything. So that is a positive sign. None of the formulas seem to be really different from any conventional skincare products out there. However, something to note that is that I wouldn't necessarily expect Kylie Jenner to release something that is like SkinCeuticals or something that's really innovative and groundbreaking in terms of the formulating technology. I think that wouldn't necessarily sit well with her target audience. In that sense, Kylie Jenner was pretty smart enough in making pretty like affordable, average products to appeal to her young audience or her followers. If Kylie Jenner can use her influence in the most positive way, is probably to release a sunscreen. If there is anyone that can convince young teenagers to stop baking and start protecting their skin with using and applying daily SPF, I think that should be Kylie Jenner, and she will be saving millions of lives. Moving on to the product review, let's start off by talking about the cleanser, the foaming face wash. I do like this for some aspects and I don't like this for some particular reasons. So first things first, the cleansing agents or the detergents that the product use is pretty mild. So potassium cocoa oil glycinate and cocamidopropyl betaine, those two are pretty mild or more gentle surfactants, definitely than surfactants such as sulfates, SLS, and those two surfactants are beloved by a lot of cosmetic formulators because of its rich, creamy foaming capability. So that explains the foaminess of this product. It does lather up pretty well. If you're used to using gel cleansers or jelly cleansers that doesn't foam up or lather up, this is pretty instantly gratifying without stripping too much away from your skin. One thing that I do need to point out, it could be a both positive and a negative. I can only suspect that they use a really higher percentage of those cleansing agents to make this cleanser really, really powerful, which means that it'll remove your foundation, it'll remove your light eye makeup. It doesn't remove my waterproof mascara whatsoever. Whenever I do play with some lip tints or some eyeliners, this has been a pretty effective hand wash. So if you're not using any makeup remover or cleansing oil cleansing balm beforehand, this might do its job in removing most of your makeup. However, as a second step cleanser, this is a little bit too powerful, meaning that it does really irritate or sensitize my skin. As soon as the bubble and the foam kind of sits on my skin for about a few seconds, I can instantly feel that it is really taking away a lot of the natural moisturizing factors on top of my skin. I do find this a little bit irritating, therefore I had to use it as quickly as possible and wash it away. They didn't state the pH level of this, so I had to buy the pH tester to test out the pH, and it seems to be somewhere in between 5.8 to 6.8, which is not a bad range. It's pretty neutral or a little bit more on the acidic side. Long story short, this is a very straightforwardly deep cleansing foaming face wash. If you do have really oily skin and you need that gratifying cleanser, compared to a lot of conventional SLS containing cleansers, this is not a bad choice. For me, I will keep using this as a hand wash. Moving on, we have the walnut face scrub. This has created a huge controversy, a huge hatred towards the entire brand, and a huge distrust towards Kylie Jenner. To be completely candid, to be completely transparent, I don't think it's the physical exfoliator itself that deserves the hate. I think it is the aggressive habit that's associated with using the manual scrub, like really abrasively attacking attacking and just aggressively going at it, that itself would really irritate and sensitize the skin. So when it comes to exfoliating the skin, there are mainly two types of products that you can go for. One is the manual scrub like this, which is called physical exfoliator. Second option is using a chemical exfoliator such as alpha hydroxy acids and beta hydroxy acids. So chemical exfoliants such as AHA mainly works by ungluing the bond between dead skin cells. It naturally nudges the dead skin cells to say that it is time to leave, we're closing, now it's time for us to say goodbye. Whereas physical exfoliator is more like when the restaurant is closing down, the waiter comes and then kicks you out of the table. I definitely do prefer chemical exfoliants because it is effective in getting all the possible dead skin cells that you might not see. That said, am I a fan of physical exfoliators? I am probably not a fan of it. Sometimes it does get the job in taking off the visible flakiness on top of the skin, or using just like enzyme powders, or using something that is more gentle such as oat scrubs would definitely my second choice. But let's say if you are allergic to chemical exfoliator, or if you cannot tolerate any kinds of chemical exfoliators, this is not a terrible product at all. The formula itself is pretty well thought out. First of all, it uses walnut shell powder that is really uniform in size and that's very finely milled. Compared to a lot of drugstore scrubs, I do find this to be a little bit more gentle. It does use a lot of emollient ingredients and more moisturizing ingredients to buffer out any kinds of irritation and redness that may happen during the scrubbing. Cetyl alcohol, cetyl alcohol, both are wonderful fatty alcohols that are very nourishing and skin conditioning, and there are really great emollient ingredients that are there to kind of give that creamy, buttery afterfeel. I think a lot of you guys might have suspected that my least favorite product is going to be the walnut scrub out of the entire range, but my least favorite or the most disappointing product has to be the vanilla milk toner. And this is probably the most disappointing because it's probably something that I was most anticipating to like. If you look at the ingredient list, it uses a lot of water and oily ingredients at once. There's a lot of emulsifiers to mix those watery, oily ingredients, creating this milky texture. It is a pretty heavy toner, I would say, but it doesn't seem to be hydrating enough. The product seems like it's supposed to be a moisturizer, but it forgot to add that occlusive ingredient, so therefore it just became this milky toner, but then it's not really delivering into the skin, therefore it's not really reaching anywhere to hydrate anywhere. I think the number one thing that I really couldn't deal with was the fragrance. Fragrance in skincare is definitely not necessary, and you never know what you're actually allergic to. Fragrance to me was never a deal breaker. It's something that I would definitely avoid if possible, but if I do like a product and if that contains fragrance, that wouldn't stop me from keep using it. But the fragrance of this product is very overpowering that I need to hold my nose. It was really making me nauseous, so I just couldn't keep using it, and the product consistency itself really didn't live up to my expectations, so definitely this is a letdown for me. She does have a serum, and that is vitamin C serum, and instead of using the pure form of vitamin C, which is the L-ascorbic acid, she used a very interesting vitamin C derivative, tetrahexyldecyl ascorbate. To give you a little bit of a brief information background on vitamin C, the pure form is L-ascorbic acid, and that is known to be the most effective form of vitamin C when applied topically. It really fights against the free radicals and it builds collagen, therefore it's a really great anti-aging ingredient. It is a great skin lightening and brightening ingredient, reversing photo damage or diminishing any kinds of hyperpigmentation or discoloration. So in theory, it is known to be this best ingredient, but in real life, it becomes a little bit tricky because this ingredient is really unstable. Also, it's more effective in a really acidic environment, which basically means that whenever you apply a pure form of vitamin C, it does tend to sensitize some skin type who have really sensitive skin. And another downside of L-ascorbic acid is that since it is water soluble, it might not even penetrate deeply in the dermis layer, which is basically the basement level that your skin builds collagen. For those limitations, there are a lot of derivatives, the cousin form of vitamin C's out there, including sodium ascorbyl phosphate, and in Kylie's skin they use tetrahexyldecyl ascorbate, and that is a very interesting derivative because it is an oil-soluble vitamin C derivative. And by being a fat-soluble vitamin C, it has one big advantage. It travels down to the basement layer pretty easily. And I know a lot of you guys might think that water-soluble ingredients absorb better into the skin, but no. A lot of fat-soluble ingredients or oils tend to travel better. Also, it is supposed to be stable in above like pH 5, which means that it's not going to be as irritating, or it doesn't really require a lot of formulating technology to invest in stabilizing that ingredient in a formula, because it is pretty chill by itself. But the only thing is that it is a fairly new ingredient. It still needs to be researched a lot, and it is still a very promising vitamin C derivative. In the week span of using this product day and night, I haven't really noticed a huge difference in terms of my skin complexion or my skin firmness. They didn't disclose the concentration of vitamin C they use. I don't think this used a high concentration because it's not supposed to be an anti-aging serum. It'll be a really great antioxidant boost that you can use on a daily basis, but it is $28 and it only comes in 20 ml. Even though the texture is very delightful, just because of the price tag and the small amount that you get, I don't think this will be something that I would highly recommend to anyone. Moving on to the face moisturizer. This is $24 for 52 ml, which is not a bad price tag at all. I was actually pretty surprised by how nourishing and more emollient it is. I was imagining or expecting her to release a very lightweight gel type of moisturizer that would just instantly disappear right away. So it was a pretty pleasant surprise by how nourishing and how actually moisturizing it is. If I was the product developer, I would have given probably 3 months more to develop beyond this stage. This to me just seems like a dry moisturizing coat. It has done a really great job in creating that barrier to protect all the hydration that you layered underneath from evaporating. But for someone who's just using this right after cleansing, they might feel like this is not hydrating enough. If they have put more water-based and more humectant ingredients to retain and grab water to the skin, I feel like it would have been a better moisturizer beyond this point. They did use isopropyl palmitate as one of the main esters, and it's pretty commonly used in a lot of silicone-free moisturizers. Not saying that this is silicone-free, it does have dimethicone, but it's used in a pretty minimal percentage I can feel. So it doesn't really necessarily have that glide or silkiness. It used shea butter for nourishing and moisturizing. The formula itself was pretty stiff and it wasn't really flexible enough. And then I noticed it used jojoba esters and it was pretty high up in the ingredient list. And I have played with a lot of moisturizers that does have jojoba esters in it. It doesn't spread that easily. It has a more drier feel, giving that mattifying look. I think that also explains the finish. The finish of this moisturizer is not overly dewy, it's not overly greasy, it's not unnatural. Overall, I think it has been a pretty okay moisturizer. Last but not least, Kylie Skin also does have an eye cream. It does contain vitamin E, green tea, caffeine, and all those kind of buzzy ingredient or more commonly found ingredients in a lot of conventional eye creams already. Do I think it's worth the price? I do not think so. You can definitely skip this if you don't feel the need to have an eye cream. But if we're only talking about the texture though, it is a pretty interesting, very thick, buttery, nourishing texture. It does take a long time to absorb the formula into the skin. People who would benefit the most using this eye cream is someone who already has some visible lines or some folds and you want an even canvas to apply your concealer or your foundation on top. This does provide an instant blurring or filling effect. It does have mica, which will instantly reflect the light, making your eye area appear more brighter and more awake. I think it's an okay product, but it's definitely not necessary. I hope this review was informative and helpful. If it was, please give this video a thumbs up, and also visit my Instagram at LeahYou. I'll probably be using the vitamin C serum for about a month or until I finish this, and keep you guys posted over there. Let me know if you guys have any other video requests down below in the comment box, and I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye!